Hello, everyone, and welcome to the RTCC podcast, where we shine light on relevant college and career information parents and scholars need to know. Today, Amanda Larkins and Nicholas Pascal will be on the show sharing resources and information parents can take advantage of during this time. We know this pandemic is affecting families in different ways, so we want to make sure you know about the assistance available to you and how to access them. If you are in need of help, whatever that may be, please email rtcc@uplifteducation.org and check out more details on this episode's description. I'm excited to have Amanda and Nicholas on the show today because we're dedicating this episode and talking about those resources. Amanda and Nicholas, welcome. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Can y'all start by sharing a little bit about what you do at Uplift?
So I am the Director of Counseling Services, and I have the pleasure of working with all of our social behavioral counselors on our campuses. And so all of our counselors provide mental health support to all of our scholars and support to our families. And a lot of times our scholars will see our counselors pop into their classrooms for additional lessons throughout the school year.
So I am Nicholas Pascal. I'm the Director of Social Emotional Learning for our network. And so really what that entails is just really trying to build a cohesive kind of macro and micro level infusion of SEL into everything we do. So we're working on implicit SEL, which is just, it's living in the building. It's the culture of the school. It's in English class. It's in, other subjects. There's also explicit initiatives that we're using specific curriculums like Second Step for primary, like Cleaning Up for middle school. So we have a lot of focus on really teaching our teachers really who are on the front lines with our kids, like what it means to be just socially and emotionally well, and how to really be the best that you can be in that space of teaching.
Awesome. Yeah, I love both of your roles because there's definitely a human focus to both of your work, and it's focusing on the wellness of scholars and their well-being, but also the wellness of our teachers and our staff, where there's intentionality with ensuring that even those who are caring for our scholars are well themselves. So that's really cool. Before we get officially started, I definitely would like to hear how both of you are doing and how you're navigating this time with your families.
Yeah, so I think for us, this has been also just a really interesting time that has kind of challenged our multitasking abilities. My family, we have a 2-year-old daughter who is now home with us full time while my husband and I are both working. So we have just been put in a new exciting challenge of navigating taking care of her and keeping her entertained and keeping up with her kind of development as well. But we've definitely looked for those silver linings right now, and taking this time with her as a wonderful opportunity to do new and exciting things with her, taking her on walks throughout the day, just doing different types of activities. But it has definitely I think I have had to practice some compassion and self-care with myself, like Nicholas shared, and just making sure that I'm taking that time to take care of myself so that I can be my best self for my daughter and my family, to make sure that we are taking care of the best way that we can. But I think every day gets a little bit easier, and as things are changing around us, just being willing to be flexible to do what's best for me and for my family.
Perspective taking has been really huge for me. I live with my wife in Dallas and East Dallas, and so really for me, it's understanding that one, like we are both healthy. Our families, mine mostly in New York, luckily are healthy right now, and so just kind of taking that as the first, kind of like when you talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like it's like without your health, you're nothing. So kind of just level sets me to understand that that I'm really lucky, and so in times when we're feeling a little bit stressed out, like we really practice a lot of self-care with walking our dog Bambino. I've been working out a lot, but a lot of it truly has just been gratitude, trying to end my day with gratitude, start it with gratitude, and infuse, mindfulness throughout it. And then also talking to great coworkers like Amanda and partnering with people that I really respect is a cherry on top for sure.
Yeah, thank you both for sharing how you're doing, which leads us into what we're going to be talking about today. What may not be widely known is that Uplift Education has great resources and information to help families navigate their own wellness and self-care during this time. And so, Amanda, I want to start with you. What's available for families as they consider their wellness and how to take care of themselves, but also others?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about the counseling support that we're providing right now, and the work that all the counselors are doing. So, right now, all of our counselors are reaching out to families and checking in with families to make sure that they have everything that they need or are connected with agencies in the community that can help meet certain needs, whether it's support with food or finances or housing. We have a lot of connections in our communities across DFW to help meet some of those needs. And so, like we have talked about already, this is a stressful time, whether it's just everyone sheltering in place right now, or financial concerns, or navigating online learning. There's just a lot of different pieces that could trigger stress for all of us individually. And so, our counselors are available to check in with families and scholars to help process some of those feelings of stress or worry or fear, and kind of give some strategies and different resources to utilize during this time. And so, if anyone is wanting any support with any of those things, they can reach out to their campus social counselor directly, or they're welcome to reach out to a teacher who can help get them connected. Or people can also reach out to me, and I can help get connected with counselors on the campuses as well.
Wow, that's really, really awesome. I want to take this time to also highlight that there have been tens of thousands of meals that have been provided for families through our breakfast and lunch pickups. We're so happy that we've been able to make that available for families, and also in time to have made that process a little easier for families where you could pick up a breakfast and lunch at the same time. Where now, thankfully, through the state of Texas, we're able to have parents pick up meals for their kids. So I also want to acknowledge those meals are not enough to feed a family for the entire day. So, unfortunately, we're not able to provide a dinner or additional snack. So, Amanda, is that something that our social counselors can help with? If a family is needing more assistance with food, are we helping them, or do we have partners or resources that can help that need?
So we have been in contact with some families who have said that they have needed maybe a little bit more assistance with food outside of what Uplift is providing already. And so our counselors have been able to get them connected with various agencies or um, food banks, or just generous donors in the community that have set up some food programs, so that our families are able to get some more assistance in that way. Another thing that we have, our counselors have been talking with families about, is even just around scholars that are really feeling anxious right now about COVID-19, or about academics, or about, I'm not going back to school this year. I don't get to see my friends, or I'm not having that transition into the next grade, or I'm not getting to be a part of my graduation. And so our counselors are really just able to be with scholars or with the parents to just sit in that and understand that with them, and just kind of unpack that and normalize that we are all we're all experiencing this for the first time, and in some ways we are all grieving. these opportunities that we were anticipating and just not able to do now. So really just creating this safe space for all of our families to just feel supported and feel understood and feel heard.
Yeah. So, Amanda, every day I'm thinking about our scholars and I'm thinking about how they're navigating online learning, how they're having to stay inside with their siblings and their parents. Like this time, families are certainly getting that time together that they have not been able to have before. In a lot of ways, that is so great. And I'm hoping that there are moments where there's joy and there's laughter. But also, we have to be real and understand that this could also just add more stress. And then when I think about our scholars, I can imagine, if I was a student and it would be hard to be motivated. It would be hard to, continue on with the semester when I know I'm missing some big moments that I was looking forward to, especially for our juniors and our seniors, where there are some big events and big moments that are a big deal that they've looked forward to share with their friends and their families. And so I would be bummed out right now if I was in their shoes, and I'm sure they are. And so, what would you say to parents who have children who are just bummed? They're bummed out, or they're feeling anxious about COVID, and they're feeling anxious about their families, about getting the virus and what that would mean for them. So there's so many emotions and so many feelings that I'm sure families are navigating on a daily basis. So I'd love to hear what you would say to that.
Yeah. I think an important thing to remember is, everyone responds to this in a different way and just in response to stress in a different way. And just because you see people around you, maybe they seem like they're not affected by this, or you feel like you are more stressed than they are. It's okay. We all respond differently. But I think it's important to realize and to try to kind of look at yourself and see, has this lack of motivation, or has my mood, or have I felt this change for kind of a long period of time, to where that motivation is really impacting just my daily life. And I think if you start to recognize that and notice it for several days in a row, that's really where it's time to start finding someone to talk to, whether it's a family member, whether it's the social counselor at your school. Those are times where it's so important to try to be connected with somebody. And we recognize that may not be someone, you may used to have had lots of access to them. You probably saw them every day at school, or a family member you used to see on a regular basis. And so our counseling team wants to help fill that gap for you whenever we can. But I think it's about taking care of yourself, recognizing when kind of your daily life is starting to be impacted, and looking for ways to really take care of yourself, whether that's taking care of your body by exercising or eating healthy, or just taking deep breaths, or even just making sure that you're taking breaks, and maybe just watching your favorite show, reading a book. But I think the big piece is just to find that grace for yourself, that this is a difficult time and we will make it through. But things look differently and feel differently right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicholas, I want to talk to you about online learning. I definitely know this process has been, confusing and even overwhelming for scholars and parents to navigate. I know our campus teams have been doing an excellent job in helping them get set up, and our IT team has also been great in providing Chromebooks. But this is new for a lot of families. So, can you speak to how your team is supporting these efforts and share a little bit of insight on what's being considered as we roll out new lessons online?
So I think what keeps coming up, and Robert, you shared it, Amanda, you shared it, is like humanizing. this pandemic and humanizing the fact that, getting good grades is great and it's important, and we're a college prep, and that is unwavering. However, with people struggling to get their basic needs met financially, getting food, getting this and that, we know that if we don't honor that, and if we don't lead in grace and lead with like compassion, that none of this stuff is really going to stick. So I think really what our team is really focused on is, even though we're building content for scholars, it's really teaching teachers on how to use it. And also, and so ways that we do that is talking with them about the way that they greet, the consistency in which they ask about their scholars and how they're reaching out. And I think that what that can do, for example, is one of the things we focus on is called an optimistic closure. So we say, kind of teach that every lesson should end in optimism. And in a time like now where cynicism is probably at an all-time high for good reason, probably, we've kind of shared with our teachers like how to trump that and really talk about positivity. And so the way that you do that is an optimistic closure, and you just end with gratitude. And then you ask scholars, like, what is one thing, it could be one thing that you're grateful for. These are open to our teachers to then teach, but we're also trying to get teachers to just embed these things into all of their lessons so that it's just flowing in all of the instruction. It's not anything, honestly, that I think is revolutionary, but I think when you look at the holistic approach of like caring about the whole child and caring about the basic needs and where they're at, and you put that above the academic piece, hopefully parents are feeling that, and hopefully they're understanding that, there's always room to grow, where we can make it better. Kids can make up assignment. Like we can work and partner together even more deeply now, because there isn't any physical school, right? And they're not, some of our parents, have multiple kids, and they're trying to navigate this for maybe 2, 3, 4 kids, right? And so hopefully we're doing a good job of leading with compassion through that. And that's hopefully that our parents are feeling that.
Yeah, for sure, Nicholas. And you really did hit on it. And we really do want our families to feel like they are being supported and that we are prioritizing their well-being. At the end of the day, yes, we want students to do well in their courses. We want them to be engaged online, learning and engaged with their teachers. But we also understand is that to do that well and to be engaged in your learning, you have to be in a good space emotionally and mentally and physically. And that's ultimately what we want to ensure that is being taken care of first. And really hope that message is getting across to families. I think when I think about myself as a student, right, I had a hard time advocating for myself to my teachers if I had a rough night at home or just wasn't able to get something done. I didn't know how to communicate that, and I didn't know how to really self-advocate for myself. And so I would just encourage students, parents, if you're listening and you do find yourself in that situation where like, I just don't know how to talk to my teacher about this. I don't know how to talk to my dean about this, but I'm struggling and this is real and I don't know how to move forward. Just please, please, please take that first step, send that email, make that phone call. And so I love that you mentioned that, because at the end of the day, our number one priority is the wellness of our families. So thanks for mentioning. Amanda, so for a scholar that is wanting to reach out and they want to talk to their counselor or someone on your team that could, speak to them and just hear them out, are there confidentiality things that, would be helpful for them to know about when they do make that contact and they share information with them?
Yes. So we always prioritize confidentiality, and are really want to make sure that is a safe and confidential space. There are some times when we can't guarantee that confidentiality, and that's if there's any concerns about safety to the scholar we're talking to or someone else around them, or any concerns about abuse or neglect. And so those are the times when we would have to break that. And then I think another just difficulty of not being in school and working with our counselors is that, typically we have offices where we're able to monitor confidentiality and make sure that, there's no one else in the room that could overhear this confidential information. And so as we're talking over the phone, unfortunately, we don't know who is in any other room on the other side of the phone. But we can guarantee on our end that we are maintaining that confidential space with those exceptions. But just making sure that scholars are aware of their surroundings, and making sure that they are in a safe space that they feel comfortable sharing any personal information.
That's good to know. Something that comes to mind as well when I think about this is our parents. Our parents, as some of you shared, in addition to working, you're also now a teacher at home, and you're now helping children navigate homeschooling, and you're now a tutor, and you're the teacher's assistant, and on top of all of that, you're maybe helping prepare meals and still housework and all the things that still need to be done in addition to maybe maintaining a job and perhaps even caring for other family members. And so there's just that increased responsibility, increased stress on how to manage all of that and to do it well. These resources, are these available for parents? And if so, like, is the process different? And then also, would you have anything that you would share to the adults that are listening, to the parents that are listening, and helping them navigate this time?
So one thing I can add here is we have just recently started releasing stress management tips and tools on the Uplift Facebook page. And so we'll be releasing those frequently throughout the next few weeks. And so that'll be a great place to be on the lookout for just different strategies to use as you navigate the stress associated with all of this. And then counselors have been sending out some parent specific strategies on their campuses as well. If parents want to talk with a counselor, they are welcome to reach out to the counselor directly as well. It would be the same process, and we can kind of provide that initial support or get them connected with any outside agencies or resources that would help them.
Yeah, for sure. So for the rest of the school year, Uplift schools are closed. And so, which means we will not be returning back to campus, to our classrooms. This also means, unfortunately, all events are suspended. And so we are thinking through how to postpone graduation and college signing day and events that not only scholars look forward to, but we know our families and our staff have looked forward to. That's what we look forward to from the beginning of the year, because we know that's a big celebration for everyone, for celebrating the accomplishments of our scholars. So I want to ask, how can we look ahead during this time when it is so hard to do that? So how can we look ahead to fall, especially for our seniors who are looking to go to college in the fall? What about our juniors who are looking forward to their senior year? And how do parents have that conversation with their kids?
Yeah, that's a great question. First off, I want to shout out the class of 2020 because I was the class of 2000. And so 20 years ago, I was walking across the stage in New York and thought truly, like, in 20 years, I'm going to be a lot older, and where am I going to be? And so I'm happy to be serving in Dallas and for Uplift. And just want to give a shout out to the class of 2020 because this is really a special class already. And it's even more special. So I think for parents, I think the finality of the governor's decision to close schools indefinitely, I think is honestly something that is a good thing in the overall, because after doing distance learning, going back to this scenario to try to have some semblance of like a senior year and finish out would be, I think, more difficult than I think most people really understand because we've just lost so much time and so much steam. And so I think for parents, I think focusing on what's most important is like health, right? And I think young people sometimes struggle with that because they feel invincible. I know that when I was 17 and graduating, I felt invincible and made a lot of interesting and foolish decisions because of that. But truly, like, this is a decision that's based on science, it's based on facts. It's not based on politics. It's not based on, income or race or religion. This is scientific. And so I think talking through that from a factual science-based lens of like the top scientists in the world are saying, listen, this is not safe. And so I think coming back to people's health and safety, and then also the finality of like, asking your scholar, your son, your daughter, like, how do you feel? Like, what are you missing? And then trying to then take an inventory of, what they're really nervous of, scared of, saddened by, like what that emotional kind of do an emotional temperature check, right? And find out what vocabulary they're using to describe their feelings. And then, when this is all over, because it will be, curate experiences that can hopefully that can subside, those feelings of loss and regret and sadness by doing some really cool things. And I think I know from myself, there's power in positivity. So as the parent, if you can remain positive in everything in the messaging that you have with your kids, that's gonna lead them to a better place, right? But I feel like there is a trap. You have to be human and you have to acknowledge their pain and their suffering, but there's also a place where you have to really challenge them to say, like, it's going to be okay, and that is a difficult place, and it's not going to be easy and it's not going to be perfect. But I think going in with the intention of being that rock and being human and just getting them to open up and also being vulnerable with them at the appropriate times, I think will curate an experience for kids that they can look back on from years from now and really be thankful that they had you as the parent, right, that was there to be their rock, because there are a lot of people across our nation and across the world that don't have that support. And so I think just leading in love, leading in support is probably the best thing you can do while doing the emotion temperature check and really putting some vocabulary to their feelings.
Nicholas, there was so much meaning in what you just shared, and I thank you for painting a really good picture on how parents and scholars can remain engaged with one another. I think you shared some really practical ways on how to have that conversation, how to be real about what you're feeling, what's going on, and at the same time to try to remain hopeful, try to remain optimistic, and look to what's to come. Lastly, Amanda, can you share a resource for families where they can rely on some information? I know there's probably information overload that's going to their phones, that's on the news. And so would you recommend a source where that could be reliable, that they could check regularly for them to get any updates that they'll need to know regarding the COVID-19 pandemic?
I think one thing that's just really hard right now is, I feel like everywhere we look, there's information coming from the left, from the right. You look one thing up and you find 10 different answers. I know for me, a place that's been really helpful for getting information and recommendations has actually been through the CDC. Not only do they have more health-based information, they also have a lot of social emotional information and resources for parents and just for individuals on their own. Not only does it talk about stress and coping, it talks about how to take care of children, how to talk to children, and just any other precautions or support someone might need. So I highly recommend looking at the CDC for any additional resources. And if not, just reaching out to the social counselor or myself or Nicholas so that we can help answer any questions or just get connected to get some answers.
Thanks, Amanda. And that brings us at the close of today's show. I want to thank you both for being on today and sharing your wisdom and knowledge for our listeners, one thing that really stuck out to me was, the need to look ahead and to remain optimistic because we will have better days.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Robert, for having us. And just want to say, really, my thoughts are with everybody here, and just hoping that you and your family are happy, healthy, and well. And again, please reach out to us if you need anything.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening to today's episode. You will find details mentioned today in our show description. If you have any questions or would like information on what we discussed, please email us at rtcc@uplifteducation.org. Also, we understand navigating life, wellness, and education may be a challenge right now. We at Uplift want you to know you're not alone. We are on this journey together. And to help you stay informed, please visit uplift.education.org/COVID-19, where we post all the updates and information you need to know. As a reminder, please do not forget to tune in next week for our new episode. Until then, be well and shine through.